Rise and shine, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Streaming now on KARE 11 Plus. I'm Jason Hackett alongside Alicia Lewis. And if you haven't stepped outside already, you probably should look out your window because there's a weather impact alert in effect right now.
I did the mistake of just rolling down my windows. I was lazy. I'm like, oh, they're all snow covered. It was that light, kind of fluffy, wet stuff. So I rolled them all down, and then, they came inward.
Learned your lesson there this morning.
Yeah, I should know better. But Courtney, I was like, you know what? We were up at the Wild game last night. I was a little lazy. Don't be lazy like me, folks.
And if you are lazy, then just keep that slow kind of theme going. Keep it slow when you get on the roads. That's definitely going to be the right move because it's slick out there. And you may look outside and think, well, it's not even snowing that hard. And you would be correct. The snow coming down right now is very, very light. The reason that we have the weather impact alert for the rest of the morning, and it is exclusively for the morning, is because of the snow that fell last night. It did unfortunately accumulate a little bit on local roadways, especially if you're getting out on those side roads, so not highways. They're still partially covered, and we could see a trace of additional accumulation. But right now, upper 20s, so it is below freezing. That's another cause for concern. Here's how the radar is looking as of this hour. Right about 7 a.m., that snow shifting to the east slowly but surely. That is a trend that will continue for the rest of our morning, and by afternoon we will be clear, but I want to make it clear that we have more precip in the forecast. It's a very active pattern. Current temperatures are in the 20s. You will need a coat. 28 in the Twin Cities, 25 in Cambridge, 27 in Buffalo and in Maple Lake. And those winds haven't been consistent, but it's been intermittently breezy. And I'll tell you, when that wind picks up out of the north, it feels chilly. And it's going to be chilly into this afternoon, too, because even though we make it up to 40 and even though we have the sunshine, we also have that north wind. So today, light snow through the morning, weather impact alert only through 9 o'clock. Then we have a high of 40, windy conditions. That'll make it feel a little bit more chilly. Here's the deal. As we go through the rest of the week, additional chances for not just snow, but also rain tomorrow night. We're going to see both rain and snow. That could be a little bit messy, so that's something that we're watching. And then the conversation continues into the weekend with an increasing chance for snow Saturday and into Sunday. So here's a quick look at the microcast. Snow moves to the east. It's out of here into this afternoon. It'll be a chilly afternoon. And then we get the snow this weekend. But even before that, a chance for rain and snow. That's tomorrow evening.
All right. Yeah, we've seen all morning that roads are either partially covered or completely covered, and it's causing some real issues on the roads here. Let's take a look here in the Golden Valley area. This is Highway 100 northbound, right at the ramp to Highway 55. That ramp is now closed because of that spin out. So those ramps, I always say, are the things that trip people up. So please be careful on those. 694, we're seeing this huge backup in Fridley because of a vehicle spin out. This is 694 eastbound right at Highway 65, and you don't want to sit through that. You will be late for work if you do. If you're coming from Fridley especially, you can maneuver onto Highway 10 to get back onto 694 eastbound, but if you sit through this, you'd have to add at least 15 minutes to your drive just to get past this situation. So please use an alternate route. Over in the Wayzata area, we're seeing this vehicle spin out as well. This is on Highway 12 eastbound near Carlson Parkway, not significantly slowing down the commute as you make your way farther onto 394, but definitely something to watch out for. If we take a look here at different slowing around the metro, you'll also notice that we're seeing a pretty significant amount of slowing in the Lionel Lakes area on 35E southbound as you're making your way towards 694. You can take Highway 61 as an alternate route because that backup is getting really bad this morning. Other than on 694 in the Fridley area where I mentioned we're seeing a little bit of slowing heading into downtown Minneapolis, but other than that, things are shaping up pretty nicely. Just add some more time, please. Also, let's get to Audrey. She's in Mobile 11 this morning. Where are you at? I know it's kind of been a mixed situation on the roads this morning.
Yeah, it's been a mixed situation, but Cece, I'm going to be honest with you. We're headed towards that area in Fridley that you mentioned where there's that kind of vehicle backup. And just driving a little bit north from Minnetonka up into the Anoka County area, we have noticed a little bit of a change, some of the more treacherous conditions we faced this morning. If you take a look on the left side of the road, you can see there's a little bit of what looks like precipitation kind of gathering up in the shoulder. If your tire touches that line, you start to feel a little bit of slippage. So it is icy on that part of the roadway. So if you're driving this morning and you are headed towards areas like this on the highway and you see a little bit of precipitation either in the breakdown lane or the shoulder, just be forewarned that if your tire touches it, if you swing even just a little bit, you could hit some icy conditions and feel your car slip a little bit. But yeah, we're trying to head towards that area where you notice that backup. Right now things are moving pretty well, but it looks like we're starting to see that slow up kind of ahead of us right now, so we're going to reduce our speed as well. Across the metro, we spent a lot of the morning show on our traditional broadcast around the Minnetonka area, Victoria area, and there were a lot of patches of snow and slush on the ground, but we didn't see too many issues. We saw one car in a ditch, and this was just off of Golden Valley, and this was somebody who was going into a clover leaf. So I would say if you can reduce your speed as you're going over overpasses, going into some of those clover leaves, because those tend to get pretty icy, that's an issue. But outside of that, we're seeing a lot of folks being safe out here on the roads. Back to you.
All right, Audrey, continue to be safe out there. Thanks for the updates. And of course, stick with KARE 11 for the latest forecast. As the weather changes throughout the morning, you can watch Live Radar on the Weather Impact 24/7 tab right here on the KARE 11 Plus app.
Well, developing overnight, new strikes across the Middle East as Iran claims it launched its most intense and heaviest operation yet.
Megan McPherson has been following the situation throughout the morning. She's joining us with more on the latest round of attacks.
So overnight, Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest for international travel, was struck by 2 Iranian drones. Dubai's media office posted this statement on X at 2:38 a.m. this morning, so just a few hours ago, saying that 4 people were hurt, but planes are going in and out as normal. Now, meanwhile, this video released around 12 hours ago by U.S. Central Command shows multiple strikes on Iranian Navy ships. This includes 16 ships the U.S. says were laying mines near the Strait of Hormuz. That is a key waterway. About a fifth of all the world's crude oil travels through the strait. The White House says this war's timeline is ultimately up to President Trump.
Are met, the president will dictate the end of these operations when he deems that Iran no longer poses a credible threat to the United States of America. And again, it goes back to what does that unconditional surrender look like?
And the Pentagon now says that 140 U.S. service members have been hurt since the start of Operation Epic Fury. 108 troops have already returned to duty. 8 are still listed as seriously injured and receiving the highest level of care. Alicia.
Megan, thank you. Happening in just a few hours, Harvey's Law will officially be introduced at the state capitol. It's named after this 11-month-old who was killed at a Savage daycare last fall. The bill would require cameras in infant and toddler rooms at licensed child care centers receiving state funds. It also calls for the footage to be stored for 28 days. Now, supporters say cameras could have caught the daycare worker who admittedly killed Harvey and harmed another child. Others are arguing it creates privacy and security concerns.
If cameras had been present, the first assault on Peyton would have been seen and action could have been taken before Harvey lost his life.
They might record what happens every day, but they don't prevent errors or maltreatment. What can improve safety in hospitals and in childcare is proper training, supervision, ratios, protocols and procedures, inspections, higher pay for staff, and more.
Now, if passed, Minnesota would become the first state to require cameras for child care centers.
An update this morning in the massive Feeding Our Future fraud case. Federal prosecutors are asking a judge to delay an upcoming trial because of staffing turnover in the Minnesota U.S. Attorney's Office. Abdirahman Ahmed was charged with money laundering in 2022 and is scheduled to face a jury in June. But the U.S. Attorney's Office says it won't be able to adequately prepare for the trial. Several top prosecutors resigned in January over pressure from the DOJ to investigate the widow of Renee Good, who was shot and killed by federal agents.
Well, Governor Tim Walz is proposing sweeping changes to how Medicaid is administered in Minnesota. The massive overhaul is in response to the long-running fraud crisis.
Yeah, the governor says the move is meant to strengthen fraud detection and modernize a system that is outdated. Critics warn it could dismantle safeguards already catching fraud. Investigative reporter AJ Legault exposed much of the fraud shaking up the state system and breaks down the proposed reforms.
A Frankenstein monster. That's how Governor Walz described Minnesota's human services system. His new proposal would not just tighten the monster's bolts, it would blow it up.
But the system is growing too complex for necessary oversight.
After years of fraud scandals inside Minnesota's Medicaid programs, Governor Tim Walz seeking to transform human services. His plan would eliminate the use of private insurance companies called managed care organizations, or MCOs, and phase out contracted case managers by centralizing oversight at the state level of a fragmented system.
You end up with a bit of a Frankenstein monster that you keep putting bolts onto the side of it, and it becomes very, very difficult to administer.
Governor, our reporting found that the managed care organizations were often the ones spotting and flagging the fraud that, to be blunt, the agency ignored or slow-rolled. Is there evidence to support that doing away with the managed care organizations will reduce fraud and improve oversight?
I can't speak to that.
The governor punted the question to the DHS Inspector General, James Clark.
To answer the question, I haven't seen any evidence that managed care organizations are better at spotting or detecting fraud than the Department of Human Services.
Here's some evidence. KARE 11 found the MCO, Hennepin Health, spotted fraudulent billing by housing stabilization providers more than a year before DHS took any action. March 15th, 2024, Hennepin Health emailed DHS warning of patterns of behavior and billing that raised our eyebrows. They flagged kickbacks and sent official fraud referrals, while a DHS OIG manager responded, "We're flying blind so far." Even after Hennepin Health gave DHS a PowerPoint presentation on the fraud, the agency took no action for another 5 months until KARE 11's investigation publicly exposed the fraud.
Taking the MCOs out of the picture, that really concerns me.
House Fraud Committee Chairwoman Kristen Robbins, a Republican running for governor, disputed the administration's claim that consolidating oversight to DHS could help investigators spot suspicious billing patterns sooner.
That's absolutely backwards of how it works in practice. The MCOs are the ones with the most robust fraud detection tools, and they try to report to DHS, and then they report to me, then DHS ghosts them.
Governor Walz contends fraud has flourished in a decentralized structure where responsibility is spread across counties, 8 different insurers, and the state agency.
If the state needs to be responsible for taxpayer dollars, we need to have it centralized where we can take that accountability.
The Minnesota Council of Health Plans issued a statement saying consolidating Medicaid administration into a single statewide entity would concentrate operational and financial risk to an unprecedented degree. The governor's proposal faces strong headwinds, even from members of his own party like Senator John Hoffman, who chairs the Human Services Committee. He said it lacked thoughtful collaboration. Republican leaders labeled the governor's proposal a bologna sandwich.
This proposal, as described by the governor, it has no future as far as I can tell in the Minnesota State Legislature.
After years of fraud scandals, one thing is clear. The battle over how to fix it is far from settled. Of course, looming over all of this is the specter of the Trump administration threatening to withhold billions of Medicaid dollars if Minnesota doesn't enact unspecified actions to rein in fraud. When asked about that, Governor Walz responded, "The Trump administration is going to Trump."